Hey, everybody. It's Candace Renee from Surviving and Thriving the Black Experience. I am so happy I'm out here on musical engineer mode. I done put some stuff together to make my little intro music with my little glitter stuff. You can't tell me nothing out here now. This just think of where my videos started from to where they are now. They just can't. They just gonna keep on going to the top. But anyways, I just want to say, hey everybody. As you can see, I in fact made a nice little visual aid. As to those of you who know me, who've been here for a few months now, you know my background is education, so I'm a firm believer in regards to having a visual aid. As I always say, I'm here to build your capacity, and how am I going to do as such? You will see in a few moments. But before we get to that, I need you to make sure that you subscribe, that you hit that notification bell so that you can in fact know when my content is dropping, which is once a week. And I also need you to make sure that you hit that thumbs up. That way I just know that you like the material. I appreciate it. It take like 2 seconds. Please do. So I am here to, in fact, go over this content with you. And like I say all the time, that chair, this table is ready for you. So go ahead and pull up your chair. Make sure you got your pen and your paper ready, because we're about to dive into the next episode. So I'm going to break our traditional format in regards to my field house boardroom for a little bit. We're going to do a little pivot because I have to talk about something that's relevant and what happens in modern day. So I want to talk about Black fatigue. And like I said, my goal is to always build everyone's capacity. And my mom and my nana taught me, like, if you're going to say something, before you say something, you need to know what it means. So let's talk about what Black fatigue is and what it isn't. So let's go ahead and hop into this. Black fatigue is the emotional, psychological, and physical exhaustion that Black people experience from repeated exposure to racism, code switching, underrepresentation, and having to constantly prove and or defend their existence in professional, academic, and social experiences. Typically, this in fact happens in regards to the pressure to constantly perform or to assimilate to white dominant spaces. So I'm here to truly build your capacity and to give you a different process of thinking and or to affirm your process of thinking. So with that being said, I want to give you some insight to build this capacity. So coined by Mary Frances Winters in 2020, Black fatigue is a generational condition rooted in centuries of injustice. So I need us as people to reclaim the definition of Black fatigue, because I'm going to tell you what it's not. Black fatigue is not being tired of Black people. It's Black people being tired from injustice. Black fatigue is not a complaint about diversity. It's a cry for dignity. Black fatigue is not about fragility. It's about the weight of constantly having to prove your humanity. Black fatigue is not a media buzzword. It's a lived reality rooted in systematic racism. Black fatigue is not discomfort with Black excellence, Black culture, or Black voices. It's the burnout from being silenced, erased, and over-policed. Black fatigue is not about your feelings. It's about our survival. Black fatigue is not an excuse. It's an outcome of the society that still hasn't dealt with its own racism. And Black fatigue is not new. It's just being named and finally heard. So now that you have the clear definition of what Black fatigue is, I'm going to go ahead and continue, because now you should understand what the next context is that I'm going to talk about. So when I say Black fatigue is not weakness. It's the weight of carrying strength too long without rest. Black fatigue is not laziness. It's exhaustion from fighting battles no one else sees. Black fatigue is not a trend. It's a generational truth. Black fatigue is not imaginary. It's a result of daily microaggressions, systematic barriers, and silent suffering. Black fatigue is not just tiredness. It's cumulative, inherited, and often dismissed. Black fatigue is not healed by vacation. Let's say that again. Black fatigue is not healed by taking a vacation. It requires systematic change and communal healing. Black fatigue is not a personal problem. It's a societal failure. Say this again with me. Societal failure. Black fatigue is not about giving up. It's about surviving while being expected to perform, smile, and represent. Black fatigue, as I said before, it's not new. It's just finally being named. So my nana ain't never lied when she said ain't nothing new under the sun. I think that's what I might title this. But with that being said, I want to give you a brief history walk on black fatigue and where it comes from. So let's talk about the history of this. So survival as performance. So from the plantation to the boardroom, black people have been expected to behave, perform, and represent respectability under a white gaze. You need more? I got you. So from slavery to surveillance, black bodies have historically been commodified, policed, and overworked from plantations to prison pipelines. Let's talk about this twice as good myth, where black excellence is often born out of necessity, not luxury. The need to be an overachiever and to earn basic respect contributes to our burnout. Let's talk about respectability politics, which is rooted in post-emancipation survival strategies. These norms taught us as black people to behave for white acceptance, limiting our expression of joy. Let's also talk about let's go a little bit more in depth in regards to post-emancipation expectations, where early black leaders were forced to act as model minorities to counter racist narratives. This still goes on to this day. This ain't left. And one more thing in regards to our modern day mirror. So today's black students, workers, and leaders are still asked, whether subtly or explicitly, to carry the image of the whole race on their shoulders, which is typically our burden to bear. So I'm going to go a little bit more in depth on this a little later of this presentation. So to each of you who are listening to this, I want to challenge you the next time someone says and uses black fatigue in the wrong context. I want you to challenge them, to ask them, do you know the context behind that word? Do you understand the history behind that word? Because it's not about being tired. It's about being worn down by racism. That's what black fatigue is about. It's not a surface level exhaustion. It's the accumulated impact of navigating microaggressions, discrimination, tokenism, code switching, overexposure, and the constant burden of representation. So let me give a little bit more context. So from slavery to segregation to modern day workplace bias, the fatigue comes from centuries of surviving systems not built for us. It's generational, not individual. Black fatigue lives in our bodies, our minds, and our bloodlines. It's passed down through epigenetics, stories, and survival strategies. So let me give you a little bit more context, because I like to bring the facts. Our fatigue didn't start with a single event. It's a compounded stress of living in a society that constantly, consistently questions our worth. So the next time that someone tries to take this word's power by saying that, oh, I have black fatigue because I'm just tired of seeing this young man or this young woman act this way or behave this way or talk in this tone or wear this outfit or all the ignorant stuff that people say. Ask them, do they know the context behind it and or the history? And why are you using it in the wrong context? So I'm going to share with y'all 4 different communal perceptions of black fatigue and give a little insight that I know is going to resonate with everybody who hears this, because you've heard at least one of these. So one perception, it's a shared experience with a different expression. So many black people feel that black fatigue, but we don't name it that. We don't call it that. It might have shown up as saying, I'm tired of being tired. I'm carrying the weight of everybody. I'm working twice as hard for half the credit, and I'm not being allowed to rest. So communally, this fatigue is often recognized as normal, which is a part of the problem. Number 2, fatigue as a badge of honor. So in some parts of our black community, fatigue has been equated with strength. You might have heard, we don't fold, we don't break. You might have heard keep pushing, or you might have heard somebody say this nonsense of I'll sleep when I'm dead. This can unintentionally glorify overworking and suppress vulnerability. The perception then becomes if you're not tired, you ain't doing enough. Number 3, generational gaps in understanding. Older generations may see fatigue as a normal or natural part of Black life and survival, whereas younger generations are beginning to name it, set boundaries, and seek healing. This shift can cause some tension though, because you might hear, you soft. We had it worse. But also healing, we walked so y'all could rest and fight differently. Number 4, internalized dismissal. So in the community, you might hear, we've been through worse, so get over it. We don't have time to be tired. These statements reflect survival mode, not lack of compassion. So the communal fatigue is so deep that even rest can feel like a threat to progress. So let's go ahead and talk about the burden of representation. So now I'm going to tie it into the actual series, but I had to go ahead and jump into this topic of Black fatigue because it is grinding my gears so bad to hear people using it in the wrong context and to see our people, additional Black people, sitting here using it out of context and not even taking the time to even pay homage in regards to how people sat here and walk so we can run. It bothers my spirit so bad. But back to the regular programming, but it's also going to be tied into Black fatigue as well. So I want to go ahead and start this with a quote. You're not just you, you're every Black person they've ever met. So what does the burden of representation look like in the context of Black fatigue? So what it looks like is being the only one in the room and feeling like you have to speak for all Black people. Being hypervisible, critiqued intensely, and invisible, overlooked for leadership at the same time. Suppressing natural emotion to avoid being labeled angry, loud, or unprofessional. Pressure to succeed not just for self, but to make it easier for the next one. So why is this damaging? Like, why does this even matter? Well, it robs us of individuality and feeds into tokenism. It reinforces the Black identity must be curated, not lived, and it deepens mental health disparities from anxiety, self-censorship, and burnout. So how do you release from the burden? Well, releasing from the burden of representation and the burden of Black fatigue, it's not easy. It's not easy. It's not a one-time act. It's a collective and intentional process of unlearning, healing, resisting, and reclaiming. You have to know how to name it without shame, because what we don't name, we carry. Start by acknowledging the fatigue without guilt. Naming the weight is the first act of release. Say, I'm tired, or this is too much. And guess what? That's not being weak. It's your truth. Learn how to reframe rest as resistance, because rest is a radical act in a world that profits off Black exhaustion. Remind yourself that Black rest is our form of reparations. It disrupts the grind culture and honors your humanity. So please, get your rest. Break generational agreements, because some of us inherited survival scripts that no longer serve us. This concept of keep your head down. You got to work twice as hard. We ain't got to talk about that. We don't talk about that. Release those inherited beliefs by rewriting them. I am enough without the hustle. My peace is not privilege. It's my right. And healing is not betrayal. Heal in a community, not in isolation. We weren't broken alone, so we won't heal alone either. Create a safe space to join with Black people to unpack your truth. Guess what? You right here. We live, baby. We here. Create a space. Build intergenerational conversations that validate emotions over silence. Again, emotion over silence. Learn and lean. Learn how to lean into joy, laughter, art, music, spirituality, or even cultural medicine if you want to. Demand systems change, not just self care. Please stop using your PTO days to sit here and heal from a microaggression. Please stop sitting here. No, no, no. Absolutely not. Don't do that. They don't get your time that you've earned to heal from what's happened within a space. Releasing the burden isn't just about meditation or therapy. It's about dismantling the systems that create the fatigue. Call out the microaggression, the discrimination, the hostile work environment, the harassment. Call it out. Set boundaries in your workspace, in your family, in your social, in your community. Set some boundaries. In relationships, set boundaries. Challenge policies, narratives, and the roles that tokenize or silence us. You're not crazy, lazy, or too sensitive. You're reacting to centuries of pressure. So I'm going to give you an affirmation that I want you to use and keep using until you actually believe it. I release what was never mine to carry. I rest, I reclaim, and I rise. I need our people to embrace being unapologetically happy, unapologetically joyful. I'm going to give you a breakdown of why I say this. So, for people who happen to be Caucasian, they can listen to loud country music at tailgates. They can do beer pong, they can do line dancing, and this is considered a fun tradition. In regards to Hispanics, they can have loud music, right? Quinceañeras, neighborhood parades. This is considered a vibrant culture. So then why is it when us as black people, when we go to step shows, we do spontaneous dancing? I'm going to call it spontaneous dancing because y'all know what I'm talking about. And we have our cookouts, play some spades, have a good time, show our version of joy. Why is this often titled as being ghetto? I have questions. I have questions. But this is a cultural bias. It's not a behavior. It's literally a bias. And I want to encourage us to continue to literally be unapologetically joyful. So I'm a solutions driven person. So I don't ever want to give you just a little bit of insight and not give you or tell you about a problem, give you some insight to it. But Candace Renee, what should we do after the fact? I feel like I kind of broke it down a little bit, but I'm gonna talk about this joy and how to find that joy, right? So let's talk about some solutions for 2025 and beyond. So protect your mental health. Protect it. Literally. Do not be embarrassed or feel a shame in regards to if you have to sit here and seek therapy because it's hard. It's hard every single day. But I want to let you know that in regards to community, you are not alone. And that's why Cancer May is here to give you some insight of how you overcome all these things that I talk about. I want you to normalize emotional literacy. And yes, that's also within your family. Brief story time. I am one of the first in my family to go to college. I am the first to achieve my bachelor's. I am the first to achieve my master's. I'm the first to achieve my second master's on this side of my family. And I say this side of my family because unfortunately, as a lot of black families, we are divided. It's just how it is. But I would sit here and tell you that with that being said, because of my emotional literacy and my competence to how I feel, why I use my words. Just like with kids, they say use your words of how you feel. I use my words. And yes, that may make people uncomfortable because they have not worked on their emotional literacy, but I know how to. So I know how to identify if someone's dysregulated. I know how to identify if someone's trying to be avoidant. I know how to use all these words. And sometimes people don't like it. But stand in your truth. And you can also give grace when you know that someone does not have the same comprehension. I don't mean being smart and their book smart or street smart or whatever the case is. I mean in regards to understanding that someone's capacity, having the grace and humbling yourself to understand that not everybody's capacity is going to be like yours. But making sure that you do in fact have that emotional literacy to have those conversations in your family. Reframe what self-care is and use it strategically and understand the power behind it. Remember that word rest as reparations? Oh, that's real. Because if we expect to send her all this money and stuff like that, no, 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 no. that ain't how the world was made for us, unfortunately. But take your rest. Stop sitting here working all these years at these places and doing all these things, and all you get is a card, or you get a thank you birthday cake that you could have went to Jules yourself to get. Like, stop doing this. Stop sitting here waiting for a man-made plaque to have your name on it for them to recognize you, because baby, when you leave, you're not going to be remembered like that. I promise. I promise you. So please stop having these false expectations of these companies. It is a business. They ain't worried about you like that. So I want you to be able to also reclaim your joy without permission. Celebrate loudly and unapologetically in safe spaces. Don't y'all sit here talking about Candace Renee said I could sit here and act a fool. That's not what I said. What I said is to make sure that you celebrate loudly and unapologetically in a safe space. Promote Black-led spaces that honor authenticity and teach youth that expression is not equal to shame in any way, shape, or form. Release the burden to represent. You're allowed to just be you. You don't got to be a darn spokesperson. You don't have to. Shift from I have to make us look good to we deserve to be seen in all dimensions. And challenge tokenism by creating community, not exceptionalism. You do not have to carry the race. You just have to carry yourself with dignity. So, my final thoughts. I have a lot of them. So, first off, I hope you enjoyed each of the photos that I put in here. I actually did create them using AI. And so, I've had a few people write me about it, like giving comments about them. So, with this beautiful woman here, I wanted to literally invoke the aspect or represent the aspect of our brain thinking as we're in fact trying to create calm. I wanted this to represent someone who in fact had anxiety based upon the microaggressions and the pressure of the world. And as you can see within this photo, you can see her brain, you can see how all her synapses are coming together, and how she's thinking about certain things, but you see on her face is calm. And I think that this was a true depiction in regards to us as Black people, that all these things go through our mind, our microaggressions that we experience, the racism that we experience, the gaslighting, the harassment that we may in fact have, the people using things out of context, the judgments and all these things, yet we have to be poised. We have to represent safe all the time. And so before I go on a whole tangent with that again, what I'm going to say is thank you so much for taking the time to in fact listen to my presentation, going over the concept of Black fatigue and intertwining it in regards to my continued series of Field House Boardroom. I hope that you truly, I hope that my content truly resonated and gives you resources or can be used as a resource to build your capacity and the capacity of others. If there's one thing I can ask you to do for me, again, it's to like, share, and subscribe. But more than that, just when you know something, share the word. Share the word. It doesn't, you ain't got to say Candace Renee said it or anything like that, but just when you see someone going through something, don't let someone just stay down when you see somebody's down. When you see someone sitting here overworking themselves to their detriment, tell them to take rest. Tell them it is not their job to hold up our entire society. Tell them it is not their job to sit here and sleep when they dead. Tell them it is not their responsibility and that it is not weakness for them to sit here and take a break. Let them know that you care. So I hope that my message today resonated with everyone. There were a few bloopers in this one. Usually I do a whole bunch of editing, but due to time, I hope that this truly resonated with you. And so I want to end this with just literally saying that Black fatigue is not our legacy. It's a call to rest. Black joy is not rebellion. It's restoration. And representation is not our burden. It's the system's responsibility. And I'm going to end with one straight sentence in the words of my friends who like to say this last part. Black joy is normal. Period, boo. So from surviving and thriving a Black experience with Candace Renee, thank you for enjoying my content, and I'll see you next week.